In the year 476 AD, a Germanic warlord named Odoacer marched into the imperial palace at Ravenna. He deposed a teenage emperor, Romulus Augustulus, a boy whose name echoed the founders of Rome, but whose rule was a hollow echo of its glory. No grand battle marked the moment. No flames consumed the eternal city. The symbols of imperial power, the diadem, the purple robe, were quietly packed and sent to Constantinople. The Western Roman Empire ended. Rome wasn't built in a day, the old saying goes, and it didn't fall in one either. Popular tales love the drama. Barbarian hordes storming the gates, the city in flames, civilization crashing down in a single cataclysmic day. Hollywood has fed us images of armored legions overwhelmed by fur-clad savages. But history tells a quieter, more tragic story. The fall was a slow unraveling, centuries in the making. Roots stretch back to the crisis of the 3rd century, when emperors rose and fell like autumn leaves. Plagues ravaged the legions, and the empire nearly shattered into pieces. By 476, the West had been bleeding for generations. Provinces lost one by one, taxes failing to sustain armies that were increasingly barbarian themselves. The once mighty city of Rome reduced to a ghost town, its population a fraction of its peak under Trajan. Edward Gibbon, in his monumental Decline and Fall, blamed Christianity for sapping Roman vigor, diverting wealth to churches and replacing civic duty with heavenly hopes. It was a seductive Enlightenment argument. Modern historians see a storm of causes: relentless invasions pushed by Hunnic migrations, economic collapse and hyperinflation, overtaxation and corruption, climate shifts cooling the world and worsening famines, plagues decimating populations, and endless civil wars that drained what strength remained. The East, richer, more defensible, centered on Constantinople, survived for another 1,000 years as Byzantium. The West? It faded into successor kingdoms ruled by the very peoples Rome once called barbarians. In this 2-hour journey, we trace the tragic arc, from the seeds of decline in the 3rd century, through Constantine's Christian Revolution, the last united emperor Theodosius, the barbarian storms, Attila's terror, the loss of Africa, and the quiet deposition in 476. We'll draw on archaeology, vanished pottery, collapsed trade, and voices from the time. Jerome weeping over the sack of Rome, Vegetius lamenting lost discipline, Salvianus decrying Roman injustice that drove men to prefer barbarian rule. This isn't just ancient history. It asks timeless questions. How do great powers decline? What happens when institutions erode, economies falter, and outsiders press the borders? Could Rome have been saved, or was collapse inevitable? Settle in. The story begins long before 476, in the chaos that nearly broke Rome once before. The crisis of the 3rd century. Seeds of collapse. The 3rd century was Rome's near-death experience. From 235 to 284 AD, chaos reigned. Emperor Severus Alexander was assassinated by his own troops, the first of over 24 emperors in 50 years, many ruling mere months before murder or battle claimed them. Barracks emperors rose from the ranks. Maximinus Thrax, a giant Thracian peasant who hated the Senate. Philip the Arab, who celebrated Rome's millennium in 248 amid growing ruin. Civil wars tore the empire apart. In 260, Emperor Valerian was captured by the Sassanid Persians, the first Roman emperor taken alive, humiliated, used as a footstool, then skinned after death. Invasions poured in. Goths raided deep into the Balkans. Alemanni crossed the Rhine. Franks ravaged Gaul. The empire fractured. The Gallic Empire broke away in the west, Postumus ruling Gaul, Britain, Spain. Zenobia's Palmyrene Empire seized the east. Economic collapse fueled the fire. Emperors debased the currency. Silver coins turned to bronze, sparking hyperinflation. A loaf of bread that cost 1 denarius in 200 AD cost thousands by 270. Trade networks shattered. Cities shrank. Farms were abandoned. The plague of Cyprian, named for Bishop Cyprian of Carthage, swept from 250 to 270, possibly smallpox or measles, killing millions and weakening armies. Yet Rome endured. Barely. Aurelian, 270 to 275, reconquered the breakaway empires, rebuilt walls around Rome itself, and earned the title Restitutor Orbis, restorer of the world. But he was assassinated by his own officers. Diocletian, from 284, finally ended the crisis. He split power into the Tetrarchy, 4 co-rulers, reformed taxes, froze prices, unsuccessfully, and expanded the army to nearly 400,000 men. The price? A more rigid, bureaucratic state, heavier taxes, hereditary professions binding men to the land. The Principate of Augustus gave way to the Dominate, emperors as distant, godlike lords. The crisis left scars. Population declined, frontiers strained, barbarians settled as federati mercenaries. The empire survived, but changed. The Golden Age was over.